People don't realize with very successful people, it's hard to understand what's driving them to be successful. And usually it's a lot of pain. And there's a point reaching the top of Success Mountain and then realizing there's nothing up here. But what comes next is what really matters. And because society told us who to be for so long, we've lost that. And so the work that I'm doing with you and the work that I do with men is to go in and excavate. There is something inside that wants to be born, that wants to express itself. You personally, where was the moment in your journey where you realized the inner wealth is what matters most?
The first time I experienced it, when you asked me to go to my beach house, you told me to find a space and you give me permission to chill. I was mad at you. What the hell? I don't chill. I have always moral hangover. If I don't do anything, I'm useless.
I think every man has suicidal thoughts at some point in life. I'm not contributing anything. I don't feel valued. This is too hard.
That's the not enoughness. That's not the suicidal thoughts. I think that's why I wrote a book. The not enoughness drive you towards suicidal thoughts.
Suicidal thoughts, in my experience, are not true. They're pictures, stories, images, voices, things I tell myself that seem to relate to my ego dying, my ego losing its grip on me. And what it's trying to do is take my body down with it.
You have a higher level of consciousness. You helping me to do the same thing. But how do you bring this for regular person that it doesn't become their identity and they believe that's who they are?
Welcome to Mastering the Inner and Outer Wealth with your host, Jarek Tadla, where we dive deep into the art of building freedom from the inside out. Together, we'll uncover practical strategies, real-life success stories, and expert insights to help you master your inner wealth and create the life you've always wanted. So let's get started.
Thank you, Craig, for coming for the Inner Wealth podcast. This is my life coach, Craig. I'm glad to have you, and we're going to go to deep issues today, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy it.
What's the main thing that if you knew that you weren't going to wake up tomorrow and you could just leave one message for your son as a man that he could listen to every year on his birthday, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, what message would you want him to hold in his heart from you?
You know, truly, I would tell him to go on the journey to find the connection between your heart, your soul, and your mind. And just never give up. Don't let other distraction from the outside world to fuck your way and fuck the way you think. It just be selfish and find your happiness within and just enjoy the journey. And don't get distracted by the outside good, bad influences, resources, and materialistic things.
Okay. Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
How did you learn how to do that?
I'm still learning.
I know. I knew you were going to say that.
Dude, you know,
How did you learn that was the thing that was most important? You personally, where was the moment in your journey where you realized the inner wealth is what matters most to me?
You know what? It's the first time I experienced it when you asked me to go to my beach house. You told me to find a space and you give me permission to chill. I have no idea what the fuck chilling means. I was mad at you. No, I was mad at you. What the hell? I don't chill. I have always moral hangover. Even when I take a naps or I do something in the middle that's not productive. So I always I create this chaos in my own life. If I don't do anything, I'm useless. And I realize not doing anything and just completely calming and relaxing my mind and my system, resetting my system and having permission to sit quiet and asking the questions and listen to my inner dialogue without judging. That's what I realized. That's fuck. Suddenly, shit, I've been here 2 hours. And it looks like 5 minutes. And the happiness and abundance. And I started appreciation that I took the appreciation the gratitude to the next level. And when my soul and my spirit connected with my mind, what happened was I suddenly started connecting with people.
How do you mean connecting with people?
Because I was like blocked. And when I suddenly because I never connected with myself. So I didn't know what connection is. Everything was like so, like, well, you got to talk to people, you got to be around people, but I wasn't connecting with people. You know what I mean? It was like a different level. And now I can spend time with somebody I just met. I feel like we know each other for 20 years. And I never have the experience. And that's where the abundance comes. And the same thing, when I stopped chasing, like I always tell people, like when I chase money, I was suddenly like, I was tired. When I stopped chasing, I retired first time, second time, and then suddenly the money stopped coming. And I did the same thing with happiness, with the peace, with everything else. When I was chasing, I don't like that. I want something else. I want more. I want more. I want more. And the more was here, but I did not look inside. I look with other people, other experiences, other vacations, other car, other house, different places to live, different, you know what I mean? And that's how I found it. And I'm still looking, and it's and I'm realizing just, like I don't feel guilty anymore when I want to be alone. I mean, I don't want to be alone. Don't take me wrong, but it's because I'm starving connection with people, but I also have the connection with me. Like my connection, like when they are like not in balance, when they connected, like I think I should like the chakra here, I just locked it. Do you know what I mean? Like there was like I put it like a, and there was like the mind and the soul. They were not allowed to talk to each other because they were in such a huge disagreement. You know what I mean? And now they are not. Even though they have a completely different perspective because ego wants something else. And we need ego. But what happened is now I dance with ego. Do you know what I'm saying?
But how do you dance with ego? Like, how do you like experience that in a real way on a daily basis or a weekly basis? How do you experience dancing with ego?
Like, hey, because what happened is I acknowledge if I'm making decision based on ego or based decision on my soul or heart or what is truly good for me or good for being, because being and being present is the most important, which I never realized that. And that's another answer. You taught me of being, how to be present. You know what I mean? Even right now, you're doing this right now to me, man. It's like, dude, it's weird. We always, and that's, and using like, so recognizing, have the conscious level of the ego, and if the ego is serving me or is my enemy right now, I'm like, okay, you want to do that? You want to take me to a different level? Let's go. I don't stop it. I don't force it. But I still stayed outside, and I know how to make the decision based on conscious and unconscious mind. For years, and this is, I don't think I ever talk about it on the podcast. When you're 20, 30, your dick is the brain. When from 30 to 40, you think this is the brain, the ego. The older you get, the wiser you get, you realize your soul is your brain. And my life is happening from the inside out now, from my soul, not from outside in. And the more I'm doing my life from inside out, the more abundance I see, and the more I'm able to serve more. And even what I'm doing right now, saving lives, talking about suicide, because there's so much, like I'm on the mission because of my suicidal thoughts. And having absolutely everything, and being completely miserable, having nothing. And we talk you and I, we talk about it. Monks, Buddhas goes to the billionaires, to get you to help them. But the billionaires go to monks and Buddhas and celebrities because they're miserable. They have everything. They think they have everything, but they're empty inside. And that's what I was. And the monks, they have zero of the materialistic things. They have all the happiness within, and they they see beauty in everything and they can enjoy life. I don't know if that answers your question.
Can we talk about suicide?
Sure.
Suicidal thoughts. Scary.
Yeah.
How long, what was the longest period of time? Because I think every man has suicidal thoughts at some point in life.
Yes.
I'm not contributing anything. I don't feel valued. This is too hard.
That's the not enoughness. That's not the suicidal thoughts. I think that's why I wrote a book. The not enoughness drive you towards suicidal thoughts. Because I think the suicidal thoughts, in my experience, they were coming and going. Depends what struggle I was hitting.
That's right.
And if we go back to my suicidal thoughts, I always have a reason for them. And the last time it happened, I have zero reasons. I have zero reasons.
Say more about that. How are you
Because
evaluating that you had zero reasons to have a suicidal thought?
Because at that time, I got a little bit sick. I had you, I have Raul, Tony Robbins, self-improvement, reading. I was doing almost everything. And I have everybody in my life, past divorce, start connecting with kids, financially strong, physically strong, mentally. I thought mentally strong, emotionally strong. I keep saying that I've come to emotional intelligence. I'm a toddler. You told me to change the vocabulary. But after last Christmas, I really think I'm still a toddler. I was completely sober, no alcohol, drugs, no any sedation with work, workouts, anything else. And it came to me so quickly that it just the compound pain from years and years that I hide and I put on the carpet. I never discuss it. Because even in front of you, I put a mask. I'm good. And the compound pain, the body pain just completely destroyed me from within in a matter of days.
So you did have a reason to have suicidal thoughts.
At that time, I was, yeah.
Okay.
That's I relived my whole life being. It's funny, when I got, because of my Interpol issues, I got booked in Poland for a few hours, for 20 hours, and I think it was you that God locked me in to make me read the book, the experience. But you give me the book. Yes, you give me the book.
And I was happy that you read it. And I was happy that you read it in a monastery.
Yes.
A low-grade monastery.
How I got suddenly I pull in and there's we got to resolve your stuff. And until we resolve the stuff, we got to lock you up. And they read the book. And the book, you sent it, you call Vanessa, and it was arrived a day before. And this was the surrender experiences. And I read the book in 20 hours because I was I have nothing. And they, because they give me the Bible, but they said I cannot use glasses. So the Bible's got a small font, and the surrender experience got the big font. Yeah. So I was I want this book. And I was even forced to read the book. So sometimes circumstances, but I'm getting off the subject. So we were talking about, I'm sorry. Suicide. So it's when I was suddenly locked in the bed through the sickness, and I was having with my own thoughts, I was relieving everything, what happened, and I went to such a negative space so quickly that I only found negative stuff. All my pains that I always covered, that I put on the side, but I do this better, so I'm gonna cover up. The carrying my mask for so long, with the swimming, with school, with financial successes, with money, with financial, with kids, 1, 2, 3, 4, all this stuff, and Ironman. So finally, it's all the pain came out. So that's what it was. That's for me, that because
So
it just stayed inside so long.
Action. Yeah, there was nothing to distract you, and so it
But it's
came
like
up.
the money. You leave in the bank, the money suddenly, like I found some money in the bank that I left it for 20 years. I forgot about it, and they're like, "What the shit? Like, what is this money come? Like the compound interest because it was in a compounding money market account, so I was getting higher interest, and I forgot about it because I hired in 2008." And the money was humongous. I was like, what the hell? Like, what the? And it's funny, I found it during meditation. I don't know how that come out. But the same thing, compound pain. The compound pain got a lot. The older we get and the older we hold this pain within us, like inside, it doesn't go away. It stays with you. And at some point it releases and releases in the least expected time. I mean, me over sickness, over like, you know what I mean? I have nothing to worry about. But for so many years, I hide it and I was putting in, oh, not a big deal, 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 until the not a big deal was humongous deal that I couldn't deal. I wasn't emotionally ready and mentally ready to deal with this pain.
How did you get through it?
I mean, like it was so long, so many days in bed. It's just the screaming, the yelling, the inner talk, the self-talk, and it just Jessica pulled me out. But I first, when she closed, every time she was closing the garage, when I hear the garage closing, then I was going like like screaming, like getting the like fuck, and then there was the thought, like a brief thought, it's like, dude, if you doing this, if you have zero to be depressed about, have anxiety attack about, you have everything in life that there's like 0.001% of people, and not only financially, but also like mentally, physically, connection with God, connection with kids. You have zero, and all this pain, and I gotta share the story. Like, I got to get out of the bed, share the story. And that happened. Like, I have this voice, the inner voice, like, just it was loud and clear. I'm like, bullshit. Like, this was one positive thing in the last month and a half. And then Jessica came and just pulled me, open the blinds. The freaking lights came in, and I was like, you got to get out of you got to get out. You got to get out. Like, I'm like, I'm sick. Like, you're not sick. You're helping so many people. You cannot help yourself. Oh, you bitch. You know what I mean? And that's how it started.
So you had emotional support from somebody who loved you.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like, if I'm hearing you right, you had a sense, like a deeper sense of mission. Like, I've got to get out of this, and I've got to share the story of how I got out of it. So there was like some purpose in it for you.
The purpose was that I could, that it's funny, I always want to share the story, like how to make money, because like it's so easy here, the money is like all over, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I was so delusional, but it wasn't giving me anything. And then because the pain was so bad, and I learned so much in the pain, like all the stuff that I thought is important is not important, and that's what even drive me even more to the depression and suicidal thoughts, that give me a purpose more than anything else in life. Like, I got it, and you know what? The best thing is, like, I finally found something doesn't have end. Because all my goals in life have ends. I set a goal, like, let's say I want 1 million, let's 10 million, 10 million, 100 million, 100 million, billion. It's like, finish Ironman, finish 2 Ironmans, better time, better marathon, better, I always, 100 units, 200 units, 1,000 units, I always have a goal. This suddenly, this purpose, this fulfillment, at that time, I didn't know it's a fulfillment. At this time, I gotta help people. And then once I never realized how much suicide and how much depressions there is, because there's not enough awareness in society about that, about the mental. Because if you that's why even my podcast is called Inner Wealth. I cannot call mental health, because everybody think that I talk about which is true, the mental health. the emotional health, the emotional
Why
fitness.
do you think there's no awareness in society?
Because the embarrassment.
For
Men,
men, for
yeah,
men in particular?
for men particularly. I'm always speak about men. It's funny. Like I have a lot of people that are reaching out on women, but I don't know. Like I'm a man, so it's like I diffuse it. Like I'm just speaking from
We process it differently.
Yeah.
We handle it differently.
Yeah. And also the percentage of suicide is so if you think, Craig, it's out of 719,000 suicide last year, 545,000 were men.
The vast majority.
You know what I mean? And I think we have higher and listen, I don't want to now have a haters, on a podcast or women, well, what are you discriminating against women? But I think men have a higher expectations. We have to provide security, we have to protect, and at the same time, we have to love, we have to show up, we have to show emotionally, physically, mentally, and I'm not saying women don't. I'm not saying that, but I think that because of the expectations, higher expectation from society, which is bullshit, because you only have the expectations from ourselves. So because that's what is the biggest thing, Craig. The outside expectations and outside world make me not enough, make me worthless, make me not worthy, make me blame myself because I believe in the outside. Now, with you, I like the noises. This is like somebody tells me you're worthless. Yeah, I am. I can be worthless to everybody. But if I'm not worthless to myself, there's nothing can tell me anything. But I never believe it. You know what I mean? And I also lost the faith. So when I discovered faith in me, also, my faith in God came back too. Because suddenly, like when you open, everything opens and you kind of like realize you live from inside out. And suddenly you see the signs, you see the higher powers, you see everything.
So there was a definite transition point where things kind of flipped.
I think everything happened, even like the inner voice, about you got to get out, you got to share the story. And it wasn't the voice, you got to share the story. Mm-hmm. The voice was like, dude, if this happened to you, imagine, because I have zero empathy for people that are going through depression. I'm like, I made fun of those people. I made fun of people that are fat, go to gym, go this, there's no genetic issues that you created. People that are broke, there is a wealth out there, just go create it, go get a job, open business or do something, just go to work, get it 3 jobs, you know what I mean? And the same thing with depression. But the problem is I have zero empathy for those people, but it started, I have zero empathy from me. With the way I talk to myself and the way I carry myself for the 50 years of my freaking life, I have zero empathy for this motherfucker. I have zero expectations from everybody else, but I have the higher expectations from me. And people look at from outside sources, well, that's why he got this. Yeah, I got that, but that's what almost killed me. And I couldn't be here.
People don't realize with very successful people, it's hard to understand what's driving them to be successful. And usually it's a lot of pain. It's usually an attempt to compensate for something, an attempt to overcome some childhood stuff, or a parent that told them they weren't worth enough, or somebody in their life. And there's this attempt to, I don't know if compensate is the word, but to just prove that I am worthy, doing it through external measures. And there's a point, this is where we talk about the 2 mountains, reaching the top of Success Mountain and then realizing there's nothing up here. But you have to get there in order to realize that. That can't just be there's nothing up there, so I'm not going to make the climb. You have to make the climb. But what comes next is what really matters. And so few men ever make that climb, and even fewer do what you're doing, which is to figure out what comes next. Most of them just end up on the golf course or doing something to distract themselves besides doing the actual inner work.
So I got a question for you. That's a good point. So I'm going to call this awakening, right? Because that's what you thought entire life and you've been trained by society, by parents, by teachers, by coaches,
Go
by
to
anybody,
school, get good grades,
right?
get the money, the house, the wife,
And
the kids,
thank
the
God,
cars,
like
the
you
toys.
against schools like me are, but but why we have to go there? Like, why can we just get like awaken a lot quicker without, because
Right. Why can't we
why
just
can't we
retain
just
the Buddha nature of an infant?
yeah.
Yeah. Man, I was a philosophy major, and I really tried to figure that out. I studied Western philosophy, Eastern philosophy, ancient Indian philosophy. Best I can tell is that's how the video game of life works. You have to lose yourself. It's like, you ever seen a kid with a swimming pool and they throw quarters to the bottom of the swimming pool and then they dive in and they go find them, right? And you can't open your eyes because of the chlorine, so you're feeling around at the bottom of the pool, but then you can't hold your breath, so you got to come back up, and eventually you get tired, but if you keep at it, you'll find those. It's a game like that. We have to lose ourselves and our connection with God through believing the delusion of the exterior world telling us who we are, telling us that we're good enough, we're not good enough, we have to behave, perform, believe certain things. And then we reach a certain maturity point where it's like, okay, I've done all the things. I've fulfilled my social contract. And then the
And
question,
there's-
now what? And there's nothing. There's no answer. And it's like, holy shit. So you go through long enough of that, right? That's the tunnel. That's the depression that a lot of men hit. And then you realize, well, I could just stay here, or all of that smarts and all of that gumption and all of that strategy and vision and capacity to do things in the world, maybe I can turn that inward and I can figure out what you're calling inner wealth. I can figure out what is meaningful for me, what is my purpose, what would be fulfilling, how could I make a positive impact and a contribution that I want to make, not because society told me I had to, but because my heart is called to it. And that's when the real game begins. But so few men ever get to the point where they can play the real game in a place of financial freedom, financial independence, where it's like, fuck it, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. I have to pay taxes. That'd be a good idea, right? I have
You actually don't.
There's ways around it if you're smart enough. But there's certain things, right? I have to work out. I have to sleep well. I have to, right? There's certain things that we find there are, I guess, natural laws and a couple of man-made laws. There are some things we do have to do, but within that, it's pretty much an open canvas. You can paint whatever you want to paint. So then the question becomes, well, what do I want to paint? And because society told us who to be for so long, we've lost that. And so the work that I'm doing with you and the work that I do with men is to go in and excavate. There is something inside that wants to be born, that wants to express itself. And the calling comes in midlife, regardless of whether we're financially free or not. But financial freedom is just such a more empowered place to play that game from. And so that's why I tend to work with men like you, who you could do whatever you want. You don't have to be here right now talking about mental health, sharing vulnerably about something that most men will probably never admit. And if they do, they feel so much shame about it that they spiral out and they never get to a place of
The book helped me.
the 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah, I mean, not the Bible helped me, but that helped me a lot
so?
to take the power away from the judgments and from like but I have to take I have to engrave the book in my DNA first, because I have to take the power away from my ego.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
I
But you
really-
need the ego, like you said earlier.
Yeah,
The
no,
ego
no,
is
no,
not
no. We
bad,
need
but
the
we have
ego.
to
Yeah,
right-size
yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But it's just taking the power, and it is shame, and for some people that's how you tell your bullshit story. But if my shame, or I shouldn't talk about it, I shouldn't be vulnerable, because I'm very deep about it. I'm big about vulnerability, But in order to share vulnerability, you got to just do the work, and you got to go through the journey. You got to go through the pain. You cannot just say, like, you know what, you didn't even try. It's like, well, yeah, this is happening, and play the victim. You got to pay the dues too. You know what I mean? You got to pay the dues. You cannot just, like, you know, because it's like my son or my daughter trying something, oh, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Like, I've been trying this for 50 years. It didn't work. So I think just paying dues and then become vulnerable. And if somebody wants to make fun of it and be like, you know, it wasn't easy. It took me years to open up.
How long did you last from because you reached financial freedom pretty early in life.
28 years old.
Yeah, 28. And how long did you last continuing to pretend and not going into your deeper, more authentic truth before you couldn't stand it anymore and you had to, like, something sort
The
of...
ski accident. I think the ski accident, it was because every time in life when I hit all my obstacles, it was financial obstacles. And those financial obstacles are easy to overcome. You know what I mean? They're a lot easier. Because the reason, I always tell people, the reason I was so successful financially because I have zero emotional attachments to money. And even though 2024 was the worst year of my fucking life financially, I mean not the worst, but I lost a lot of money in 2024. It's nothing comparing when I had my ski accident. Suddenly, it was my body, it was my physical pain, but the physical pain was nothing with my hand, with my knee. It was nothing comparing to my mental pain, emotional pain. Like the devils, the demons, like were playing in my head. We got you. Now you're gonna, you're not gonna be able to run. You're not gonna be able to play with your kids, and become like so delusional. And it was like almost like a fire pit, and the demon were waiting and celebrating my loss.
How old were you?
44.
Okay.
I was exactly 44.
Got it. So
2 months before 44.
You went like 16 years. I'm doing the math right there. That's a long time, man.
Yeah.
To be kind of muscling through. And how was your life in that 16-year period?
Well, so what happened is, the reason I asked my ex-wife, because we have 2 kids, and I lost the childhood of my, because I was working constantly. So I asked her to have more kids. So suddenly I want to be a dad that I wasn't present for the other ones. So that kind of, I sedated with the kind of like, now I want to be a dad. That didn't last long, because I changed the dad role to start doing, riding first. I started riding the bikes, like, I started going from Niagara Falls, from Key West to Niagara Falls. I started doing Ironmans and then the training. So suddenly I was sedating with the training. So I covered the pain, because what happens is when you train and you break the walls, you're going through the walls mentally worse, because when you're on the bike for 100 miles or 200 miles, you hit walls. When you're running 10, 15 miles, 20 miles, you hit walls. Your body said, fuck you, I'm done. And that's what you got to go through it. And those breaking through, it was a lot bigger than still. That my pain, like all this shit that happened during the childhood, the not enoughness, the you loser, you stupid, you this, what I mean? It was like, my high school teacher called me stupid. I built 160 homes around. You know what I mean? Just to prove the bitch. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's ridiculous. So I found different source of sedating, still not facing the problem. And I never faced the problem.
You have to try every single door before you finally say, all right, I'm going to try the last door, the one that finally haven't tried, right? The last one. And you go in, and what did you find when you went in there? When you finally faced that, what was in there?
Rephrase the question, because I want to answer the question.
See,
right.
we try every single distraction. We run every direction we can.
I did not learn nothing. That's funny. I get it. I did not learn anything from my successes. Zero. I become more cocky. I become more pompous. I become less guy with less empathy. It's easy because I did it. I'm an immigrant who doesn't speak English, who is like, so I learned zero from my successes.
Okay.
Zero.
What did you learn when you finally went inside then?
The pain, when I finally, being in the pain, I didn't like what I found. No, I didn't like what I like what I find now. But let's go back 3 years, Craig. I like what I see it now. I see the love. I like, dude, like this motherfucker, like I love this shit. The tingling here. I like, you know what I mean? I'm still work in progress. It's like this is gonna be, forever. But what I found I started even when I did the ayahuasca ceremony, there was a lot of pain that I never even realized. And now I can even open up more my conscious and go deeper with my own without any medicine or any, just do through the deep meditation and being with myself and finding more answers and really being in peace and just finding the pain that I never thought it was the pain. The pain, I find all those painful memories that they were not, I thought they were not painful. They were not impacting me. And they were just impacting me. And they were like I didn't want to open any more drawers because I was scared that I'm going to find another pain. I have enough. You know what I mean? So that's what if I don't know if that answer your question.
So you retired at 28. You lived 16 years before your ski accident. And that was when you finally had to confront what was inside. But before that, you tried everything else.
Yeah, but even with the accident, what happened is then I was because everybody told me you won't be able to run, you were gonna lose your leg and everything else. So then the unhappiness and all the answers being in the hospital and being constantly sedated, with those painkillers, because I have surgeries. It was 6 months, 13 surgeries. So I was sedated. I was you know what I mean? Because the company put the morphine, all the shit. And I was with my own thoughts. So then when I got out of it and I start physical therapy, of course, do the physical therapy once a day. I did 3 times a day. So, because the insurance pay for one, but I have my own money, so I pay for my other 3, that I didn't even tell the physical therapists about themselves. I start different procedures, stem cells, oxygen tubes, all this shit. So I was for 2 years concentrated so much in taking care of the hand really recovered well, but my knee and my leg. And then, okay, now I'm good. I did it. I conquered it again. And then, shit, what next? Now I cannot freaking do Ironmans because even though I can now run, but I cannot I can just kind of, it's like a jog. It's not a run. You know what I mean? I can do all the sports, but now I cannot be competitive. So I lost that. Okay, then divorce happened. So I lost identity as an athlete. I lost identity as a husband. You lose a kid for 50% of the time, so you lost identity as a father. I never lost identity as a businessman, so I have something that kept me there. Right. Because financially, I made more money during COVID and divorce than ever. Yeah. So suddenly, that feed my ego, but I'm still not freaking happy. So and that's how we met.
That's how we met.
That's how we met. Remember, I was driving in a.
Yeah, I remember.
I was just saying, I was driving, and I told you, and you're right. I have zero purpose. You know what I mean? And it's it's gonna take years. It's gonna take you to. We gotta rediscover. We're gonna go through the process, but finally, it's I don't have to send you compliments or promote you, but But what happened, what you did is your emotional intelligence were a lot higher than mine, and you knew how to ask questions because you could not tell me anything, because with my ego you could not tell me shit. Don't smile. Don't smile. I know what you're saying. So what happened is you were asking me questions and you give me permission to be me and ask me that permission, and there was no judgment. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm a little bit slow learner. It took few years, and this was like kind of like the motions, but the real the wheel start rolling. With the tests we've done. I'm like, how can book tells me be so fucking right about me? Like, I know that, but I don't tell this anybody.
Personality profile.
Yeah. But not only that, there was many books, like many tests we've done, and the astrology, like all this. Like, how can something written like years ago be so right? Like it's like Jarek, and it was like to the point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, nobody knows that about me. Like, nobody. Like I don't tell this shit anybody. Like, this is like, do you know what I mean? And the rediscovery. And the funny, I was for a year, I was like questioning, like, why I do this fucking work? Because there's no results. You know how hard it is to do something and not seeing results when we want an instant gratification, especially in this society?
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. It's like, then the ego comes, I'm paying all the money, this doesn't do. But then I cannot continue through my life going the way I was going, because I'm going to have the same results. So I got to change something. And like spending the test, like, remember, like on the beginning, somebody else was doing my work, and it's like, you were like, what the fuck, this doesn't work, right? The test. And then like, dude, I'm not back in school. Don't give me tests. Don't give me, but there was, again, no judging. There's like, slower, like, okay, let me sit with you. Let me fucking do this shit with you. And I really appreciate that, because, many people would not give me the time. It's like, well, he doesn't care, then get out. You know what I mean? And we sit and we went slowly. Like, I think I'm the slower students you probably ever have. But that gives me, like, you walk me through the beginning, and then it's like, oh shit, I got it. And then it's like, okay, now I want more. Now give me more. Give me the pill. Give me the more. When I start realizing, but the breakthrough, again, it was when you give me permission to just do nothing. This was the biggest breakthrough that, like, to me, there was a lot of breakthroughs, like, because we have so many sessions. And the biggest breakthrough, you gave me permission to do nothing. And not having the moral hangover is sitting with myself. And then I even sit with the pain and sitting and just like, because it's nice to being able to open the drawer and processes the pain. You know what I mean? It's nice. It's okay. You know what I mean? I mean, the awakening that I have in Panama jail, that I finally step out of my body, because through doing the meditations and everything else, I'm the witness, observer of my own feelings and emotions and my ego and all this stuff. It took years. And if I did not do the work, they did not give me, but the same thing is in the business. You do nothing. And it's like a lot of entrepreneurs just give up. Like, fuck, it's been 10 years, fuck that shit. And starting the 11 years, boom. The same thing with the inner wealth. It's just like, you gotta do the work, and it's like nothing. And like, what? But there's no shortcuts.
There's no shortcuts, and there's no escaping it.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
We try every other door that we can until this is the only one that's left. And I know that you get some great emotional experiences now going inside and feeling. Right? Usually it starts with feels bad, take some breaths, and then all of a sudden it flips.
That was a good one. The flow. Thank you. You got to talk about that. Seriously, because I'm talking and I want you to talk. The flow. Remember, like you said, fuck yeah, fuck no. Like, what the fuck? What? And this is like, dude, that's it? But
For
I think
you, that's it for you.
I mean, like, really?
Yeah. Well, that's okay. So that's just because people have no context for this. So that's coming from another. I don't even know if you can rightly call it a personality profile.
But Patrick, my son, talks about it.
Yeah, good.
Like, Dad, this was like, remember, like we did, like we went skiing like a week ago, and he said, remember, Craig, when he told me, like, it's like, can I say it? I'm like, yeah. That this moment when we did this, it was fuck yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, you can say the fuck yeah anytime you want now. You know what I mean? It's like that we were screaming, dude, and I hit the jump. This is, and it was this one. I'm like, okay, let's anchor it. Let's anchor it the fuck yeah. But also let's anchor it like, let's start. So now we got the flow, because the flow is like, Los he's a marathon runner. I'm gonna get into Ironman. He doesn't know that yet, but he is already in Ironman. So it's also, I found the flow in running. There is a piece that I mean, there is a hate, there is a walls that you hate it, right? The pain, but there's also like the achievement level that you look at the clock and you just like, dude, I'm running, I'm getting goosebumps, like fearlessly, like and I'm crushing it. I'm crushing it. And the moment of flow and of peace, of the achievement, and not even achievement, the abundance is like, holy shit, and boom, then you crush. So it's the fuck yeah, the flow. It's important. But I finally learned having the permission of knowing where's the flow and knowing when it's
You can feel it at a visceral level
Yes,
in your body.
yes.
It's not a mental decision
Yes.
to move back into gut level, but a body-based decision, because our bodies are so intelligent, and that's part of coming out of the intellect and coming back into the heart, coming back into the gut as men, into our balls, into our bones. And the more that you've done that, and the more you've modeled it for your son, and you've given him permission, which our fathers didn't give us. Our fathers said, you better get good grades in school. And, that can be important depending on what our children want to grow up to be. But what's more important is that they learn what's true inside themselves and they trust that.
Yeah.
And you're giving him that ability. And that's powerful.
But you see, what happened is, Craig, how do we give, because I want to give the lessons to my kids, you want to give a lesson to your kids. Of course, your mission and purpose is you helping men, like me and men like everybody in this room right now. And I mean, a lot of out there. Because how do you sell this? Like, how do you, because some people have to be ready, because it's hard for me to believe it. And I know for me, I learned through pain, right? Some, like, you have to crush, there's like, shit, okay, I'm giving up. Tell me what to do, Is there any other way? So not go through the pain? Or no, the pain is...
What would Tony Robbins say? Either inspiration or desperation, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where I heard it from him.
Mm-hmm.
I learned from desperation. I mean, I like to believe
That's what I did.
Right? I like to believe I can learn from inspiration, and maybe I do a little bit here and there. Somebody inspires me, or I get an idea or a vision. But mostly, I'm just crashing and learning the hard way. And I think we're wired differently, but mostly humans are built to avoid pain, right? We'll move towards pleasure, but we'll do 10 times more to get away from pain.
Okay, so can we talk about it? Yeah. Okay, so I want you to talk about the emotional pain. And I'm gonna talk about, actually, Laos, you shouldn't be here, man. It's like, I'm gonna talk about the physical pain, like when we train. Yeah. The burn of the muscles, and the joints are like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. And the physical pain goes so much through your head, and you are, and what happened is you winning with this, like, that's the dealing the emotions, because I have the best breakthroughs during when I was hitting the wall physically. That's what I like, the physical pain. And the physical pain always cover my emotional pain, that I could control the emotional pain. I thought in my head I could control the physical pain. How do we, so people don't get to the point that I did? Because I was so fortunate when I was ready to get on my boat and just do the last deep dive. I was so lazy, Craig. I'm like, this is too much work.
Do people know what you mean when you say the last deep dive?
I don't think so.
Why don't you be a little more explicit?
Well, what happened is when I decided to finally just kill myself, I couldn't get out of the bed.
What year was this? When was this?
2021.
Okay.
So when I finally decided I cannot deal with this shit anymore, you know, all this pain, all this stuff, that's what happened during
This is
that.
before we met, by the way.
Yeah. So it was like I couldn't deal with this pain anymore, right? And I'm like, the best way is just to go and just end it. Yeah. Because I wasn't, suddenly I'm a 51 years old man, 50 about that time I was 49, you know, have absolutely everything. I was in the pinnacle of my life, you know, found the love of my life, you know, finally, you know, got out of, you know, narcissistic, 20-year relationship that I was completely emotionally abused, but I thought that's what it has to be. And that also become my identity. I believe all this stuff. So like the coaches, the you know, like parents, like they did unconsciously all this stuff, you know, and all this stuff. And this was like, to me, was the way to get out, you know, to finish the pain. And I was like, really, like, I thought I'm happy. I have everything now. Finally, I'm free. But I was not free. I was like, I create this emotional gel. I create this box, what freedom is. And I wasn't like, I already, my mind and my emotions were a lot bigger than what the box I created. And that's where the pain came in. And so I have this boat that you know, and I have a scuba dive tanks. And you know, are you a scuba diver?
I have.
Yeah, so you know, when you scuba dive, when you go to the deep dive, then you know, when you use the oxygen, when you pass like, you know, 150 feet, you get the, you know, narcosis, and what happened? You go like high. It's the happy. So when you know, when you drinking, you get this high. So when you getting the narcosis, you know, okay, I gotta go up, because if you stay there or you go lower, then what happens is you get high, and then it's the slowest death, the happiest death also.
Yeah.
Because it's like a high death, like in peace, and
Yeah,
like
you're blissed
you,
out.
yeah. So that was like, you know, my deep dive. That's
But it was
what
too much work.
It was too much work, because now what happened is I couldn't get my captain on, because I'm not gonna kill myself with that. Like, he's gonna lose his shit. Like, you know, I'm gonna go on the deep ocean and just don't pop up.
Right.
I cannot do this to him, so I gotta do it alone. Right? Now I gotta get on the boat, go to the ocean. Remember, I could not get out of the bed. And now you want me to go on the boat, go on the ocean in the middle, and then put all my freaking scuba diving equipment, put the tank, because, you know, because to drown is a horrible death, because you lack of oxygen. Right. This is horrible death. Right? So now I gotta put this tank, hook it up, put it on me, the waves, now I gotta put extra weight so I go deeper quicker. I'm like, this is too much. So thank God I was too lazy. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean, the last deep dive.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. So suicidal thoughts. I've never talked about this. There's maybe shared it in one of my men's groups, but there's something that I've noticed about it, because I've been through it. I think every man has. Mm-hmm. That what I experience, and I'm not a psychologist, I'm a philosopher, right? So I'm trying to get to truth. And suicidal thoughts, in my experience, are not true. They're pictures, stories, images, right? Voices, like loops of things I tell myself that seem to relate to my ego dying, my ego losing its grip on me. And what it's trying to do is take my body down with it.
Yes.
That my body's here breathing, and the autonomic nervous system is running, and you know, it'll do what it's doing.
I lost the battle of the voices in my head, and I want to end it physically.
Right.
Like, my ego did win. the devil in my head, like the
It
demon
would
devil,
win
they
if
really,
it took your body
and
down
I,
with
I
you.
read the book that would win the devil, Napoleon Hill,
Yeah, yeah.
so many times.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, motherfucker got me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you won. Like, and really my ego, it really want to take my physical body.
That's right.
Okay, you lost. And it's like, yeah.
Right. So as long as we don't get out of bed and put on the scuba gear and go, right, as long as it's like the suicidal thoughts can be there, it's acting on them, it's believing them that's dangerous. And I think it's an interesting but also an important discussion to have, because nobody's talking about that, right? If you tell that to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, they're a mandatory reporter. This is like, if you report self-harm, they have to report that. They're bound by law to do that. As a coach, I don't have to do that. In my men's groups, I don't have to do that. And there's some value in just accepting, oh, you're having suicidal thoughts. Okay. I'm right here with you. You're still breathing. You haven't done anything to yourself. Now, obviously, people have various ranges of, they might be on medication, they might have, actual emotional damage, they might, have a gun. I mean, one of my cousins ate a shotgun. I mean, it's tragic. It destroys huge parts of a family for generations. Like, that's tragic stuff. I'm not in any way making light of it. Mm-hmm. And for those of us, you were describing yourself earlier, like, I'm at the peak of my game, I'm at the love of my life, right? I've built emotional fortitude. There are going to be times when career changes happen, relationship changes happen, emotional changes, hormonal changes, things happen in our lives. And there can be depressive thoughts. There can be suicidal ideation thoughts. It doesn't mean we have to act on them. And it doesn't mean that we have to be ashamed of them. It's just another thought going through our mind. This is like a meditative practice, right? It's like, oh, interesting. That's there too. If I just let it be there and notice my breath, I'm still breathing, I'm still alive.
So accept the shame, let it be, accept those thoughts.
Let it be, yeah. And it'll process through our nervous system, right? Our nervous system can process things that as children we couldn't process, so it got jammed in there. Right? So as the ice starts to thaw and starts to flow, it's like, whoa, like an avalanche happens. That's scary. Keep breathing. I'm still here. I'm still alive. And hey, day later, 2 days later, 2 weeks later, I made it through. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I'm stronger for it, and I know that I can handle even more, which goes back to something else you were saying of over Christmas. Like, you thought you were done with this stuff, but then an opening happened. You didn't have distractions, you didn't have work, right? Didn't have your kids. The holiday time, it was literally the darkest days of the year, the winter solstice.
It was right there.
Yeah.
And I load myself so much that, because we did spoke after that I told you, like, I did the reel for for everybody on social media, and I really did the hey, if it's your first year or second year, or like because it's my 6th year without kids, like and I'm like, holy crap, it was like depressing, because I watch it and I was like, damn, I thought it's gonna be over. And it's just constant just reminder that it stays with us. And the only reason I'm a lot stronger now how to, I mean, I'm still got a lot of lessons from the last time that that know how to deal with that and just take it apart, and just it's a part of the process, and accept it. And just accept it.
Yeah, right. Freud's primary insight, or one of his primary insights, is that when we take our neuroses, the thing that we're fused with, like, I'm fucked up, I feel shame, this happened to me, I'm a victim, whatever that is, and we pull it out and we observe it, we kind of look at it, right, kind of get all around it, and we realize, oh, that's not me, that's a thought I was having. It's a big, gnarly, enmeshed, like, rooted thought, but I can get it out and make it an object and see that it's not me. The next question that comes up for me is, okay, something is dying. Mm-hmm. I'm not dying. I'm here breathing. I feel pain. I feel like I want to die, and I could go with those thoughts and let it take my body out. But if I make that an object and I say, okay, something is dying. What's dying? My identity, the thing that I believed about myself, something I was told was true about me, something I was told had to be true about me, something that was, any of these social conditioning, family conditioning, self-conditioning things I told myself about myself, those seem to be the things that are dying. And they try to take me down with it. But when I just let my body continue to breathe, continue to notice from the witness, that can have its death, and I can observe it and not participate in it. And then something new becomes possible. And I believe that that's a normal, healthy function of consciousness. It's almost like menstruation in a way. Right? You're bleeding. Are you wounded? Do you need to go to the hospital? No, this is normal. It's like we need this to happen. There's a washing away, a flushing away of identity.
How do you make sure? Because now we have you have a higher level of consciousness. You helping me to do the same thing. But how do you bring this for regular person that is hitting this first time, second time, and something happens that it doesn't become their identity and they believe that's who they are, because the inner dialogue, that's what I was struggling with. For me, I really truly believe that's who I am. You're a loser, you're not enough, you're not worthy, you're not and suddenly it just got, and it's time, I couldn't take the pain. So how do you, because like you said it, you become the witness. It's like, I'm going to give myself advice, or let me look at it from a different perspective. You cannot take this regular human, like somebody who's listening is like, what the hell, those guys are delusional, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
How do you make it like to somebody, or even a child that is like, my son or my daughter is 12, my son is 14. How do you tell this to the child that
that I have a better answer for. The other one, I'm not so sure.
Okay.
I think everybody gets to grow in their own time. If they are watching this, there's probably some part of them that can hear it and say, oh, shit, that's an interesting perspective. Maybe I can try that on. If they can even remember it, because when we're in it, right, even me, right, when I'm in it, I can't remember the higher level thoughts. That's hard.
It's hard. I mean,
really
I
hard.
think we gotta grow to it and being,
Ideally, and it takes time. And eventually, right, you lay in bed for a week and you lick your wounds, and then something happens, right? The child one, I think, is a really interesting question, and I do have a suggestion on that. I mentioned earlier that as children, our nervous systems are not able to process the overwhelming stress, trauma, that happens, and things happen as children, right? Whether I was raised like Siddhartha. You ever read Siddhartha?
No.
Raised in a palace. I never saw death. I never saw disease. Everything was always perfect. It was quite wonderful. It had its whole own set of problems and neuroses and traumas, right? Because I had a very hard time fitting into that perfection, I felt like. And
so your parents did a good job protecting you from the...
yeah, but they protected me so much. I grew up in a bubble, and then I had to go out and I had to get my own immune system. And I spent my 20s getting kicked around by life, because the harder you are on yourself, the easier life is on you. The easier you are on yourself, the harder life is on you.
Yep.
And so I didn't get to hard stuff.
I want to get back to that.
I didn't get to the hard stuff until I was in my 20s. And then I had a kid unexpectedly, and I was in Rochester, and I didn't have a network, and I didn't have, it was tough. It was not the business environment for me. If I was in, California, I could have worked for Google or something like that. Oh, you're innovative, right? In Rochester, it was like, man, if you want to live in 1983, move to Rochester. All right. So
I live there, right? So that's
do.
why we relate to that. Yeah. I was like, dude, I'm telling you, the second I graduate, I was out of there, dude. It's like,
the second my daughter graduated,
my
I
whole
was out
family, everybody stays there.
Yeah.
Like
some
stays
people
there.
love it, and it's fine, and that's great for them. But it's just I have a mentor who's a billionaire. He wrote a book called Disrupt Yourself. He says, if you don't disrupt yourself, somebody's going to disrupt your industry, and then you're going to be left holding the bag. He literally in the book calls it Rochester think. When you invent the digital camera at Kodak and then say, that'll never be a thing,
Yeah.
that's Rochester think.
That's a true
So
story,
I didn't
though.
do so. It's a true story. I didn't do so well there. Yeah, 3 days after my daughter graduated, I was gone, like never back. So children. As children, our nervous systems can't process the intensity of the trauma, the challenge, the stress, right? It's not always trauma, but it's, it's stress. And the way that our nervous systems are designed, there's a whole field of study called interpersonal, so between people, neurobiology. So interpersonal neurobiology is, when you're breathing, like when your breathing co-regulates with someone, you're walking down the street and all of a sudden you're walking kind of, your pace syncs up, right? There's a way that our nervous systems influence each other, impact each other. We're social animals. And so as children, what we can do as parents is if something upsets your son, right? Or I have a 23-year-old daughter, something upset her, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, right? That's what we were raised with and what our parents were raised with. And so what we're learning is if we can just breathe with our child or our partner in a relationship, they're having a trauma response. It's hard if we're both having a trauma response, which is typical, right? But if we can breathe and regulate our own nervous system, it will regulate our child's nervous system, which trains our child how to regulate their own nervous system over the decades that we're raising them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. I got that answer. Probably applies similarly with a friend. I don't know about a total stranger. What I would say is this is about men, right? I'm not a woman. I don't know a woman's experience.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing.
Yeah.
I can only tell how I
Women are incredible. I have obviously nothing against women. We wouldn't be here without women, right? Women are amazing, and I think women need to support women. And I've got a book in me. I've been doing men's work for 30 years. Men need men.
And I think men need tribe.
Yeah.
I think
that's
men
right.
needs to be part of something bigger than themselves.
That's right. And we need other men in a
Yes.
space with no women.
Yes.
Like tomorrow, right? You had to ask Jessica to leave because we're
Yes.
going to do a thing just for men.
Yes.
Right? And so that in and of itself is regulating. So for
But he would
anybody
happen is
watching-
he would happen. You know how the experiences are so ruined by a lot of men. You know that, right?
How do you mean?
Because what happen is bicycles, bicycling is very healthy for you. But then you have bicycles cutting the traffic, cutting this, and then everybody hates bicyclists.
Okay.
The same thing for men. I need to be with another man. And then they go to the bar, get shit-faced, cheat on the wives, or do drugs and stuff like that. And then what happened, the society thinks, the women, they get together, they get shit-faced, they get drunk, and it's like, so a lot of men, but we need to be together. But we're talking about different being together.
Well, think about it.
Because, I'm telling you, when I was 30, 40, the only getting together, going to play soccer and get shit and get drunk.
Totally. But
This was like,
that's an
and of course,
immature,
and
masculine.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
But
So-
then the women was like, you're not going. Like, that's why, we'll have all the reels, all the fun. You're going golfing. You're like, wow, what is all this stuff? And suddenly the men are not allowed. And even though the golfing, even the getting drunk, it did help him to kind of reset and being, because you always meet the people on the conscious level that you're in.
That's right.
It's an immaturity, but even being immature, because that's who you are, it also helps you. But it gives a bad reputation too. Because women are like, you're not doing this shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Women got their own version of that.
Yeah.
For sure. So if we think about the interpersonal neurobiology
Okay.
of the masculine brain, okay? There's the psyche, the mind, the soul, right? And then there's the brain itself. 100,000 years ago, how did we survive? We hunted together.
Yep.
That's it. We went out, we hunted, we're crawling on our elbows through the tall grass in the savannah, right? There's some kind of grazing herd there. And we had to be able to coordinate, right? Peripherally, we had to be able to synchronize our activities because we don't have claws, we don't have teeth, we don't have wings, we don't have speed. We have the ability to coordinate efforts. That is how we survived.
And the women were gatherers.
And the women were the gatherers, and they took care of the babies, right? And they needed us to be this way. And we don't do that anymore. We do it in business. We do it in sports. We do it in music, right? But it's very rare. I got a guy on my team. His wife's giving him hell right now. And I said, "Where's your men's group?" I don't have a men's group. He's in Central America. This is like even less done there. We were just talking about that. It's like, so the first place I recommended he go was a gym. Second place was a jiu-jitsu dojo. Because you can get around men doing healthy things, building yourself up, getting strong, learning to secure the perimeter, right? Getting your testosterone, your endorphins. Like, these are things that we can do as men. So again, your question was, how do you get somebody who's watching this, who this is new information for, or doesn't know where to turn? Men need men. Men need tribe. We need each other. Our brains don't work right. It's like
I was always part of the tribe. I never realized that.
What do you mean?
In the sports teams and all, I never realized
you're
that. Like,
seeking
the
tribe.
swimming team,
Yeah,
that Ironman team. Even like when I was even like in real estate, there was a real estate group that was like getting together. There was like there was a
And
there
your
was
team to get the deals done.
Yeah, there was always a tribe, and it was always
Our brains, that's how our brains are designed to function. And so there's a sign. I run a group called the Wolf Pack, and there's a poem I really like by Rudyard Kipling. He says, "This is the law of the jungle. Something, something, something. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." That it's a symbiote, it's like a superorganism, right?
Yeah.
And so when we have that tribe, when we have that wolf pack, when we're plugged into something, not just like a bunch of guys sitting uncomfortably with beers in front of their chest, because they don't want to be vulnerable, that's not a pack. A bunch of dudes out there doing something, concerted effort, like a great basketball team, right? Your business team putting a deal together and getting it done. Your lawyer's going to get his job done. Because you guys if you don't kill, you don't eat. He's got to get his job done. And you picked him on your team because you trust him to get his job done, right? And him vice versa. And so we need those types of groups. But what about just general mental health and well-being? Right? It's one thing.
That's not easy.
It's not
because
easy.
the problem is finding the group, the tribe. Like, I'm part of the Edge Brotherhood, but finding the tribe that is finds the inner wealth, the emotional connection. That's what is hard, because like in the sports, everybody got a common goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, we're training for Ironman, we're training for marathon.
And it's extrinsic.
Exactly.
It's an external thing that
And now you
everybody
gotta
can focus
find
on.
internal, the connecting on
That's
the
harder.
internal level, and that's not easy.
harder.
So those groups are easy. It's hard to find, but it just like being out there, to me, it's being out there, open up and find, like you said, for your guy, just find something, and then somebody from this group gonna take you somewhere else.
That's right.
It just don't do what I did. Just don't stay in a freaking bed like yourself. Do not answer the phones, and then because this is the worst part. Craig, one thing that is you will tell yourself, not for you 18, you turn 18 years old, you on your own, what advice would you give yourself? We don't have an hour. You got you.
Man, I mean, the advice I would
Go
give myself...
from experience,
I
like
don't-
what you
But I
went.
don't
Like,
know if I would give it to anybody else.
no, I did not ask for everybody else. I asked for you, because see what happened. There's only one Craig,
Yeah.
and there's only one Jarek. It's look at your life, Look at, but so give the advice that will give it to yourself, and you would love to share with my audience and with everybody else. That's what it is. Let's do that.
So it's okay. So it's rapidly evolving in my own mind. I'll share the way it first hit me when you
Okay.
first asked me, and then I'll share what it evolved into.
Okay, got it. That's how quickly it went.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm 18, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
18.
yeah. So the first thing that came to my mind was, fuck these people. What it evolved into was trust yourself.
Yep.
Yeah,
How do you trust yourself?
that's the hard part. I think it's literally started with just sort of nuking my social emotional landscape. Like these were not good people for me to be around. They were the people I ended up with because, high school just kind of shuffles you into a clique. I was the guy that kind of bounced around. I could go sit at any lunch table, and we had I think we had 600 in my graduating class. And I could sit at any lunch table because I was like the floater, the drifter. But I didn't feel like I belonged with any of those people. I have one person I talk to from high school still, and it's over text, maybe twice a year. Love him to pieces. One person out of my entire high school experience that I still talk to. Most of those people, good people, fine people, not my people. And I had to find my people. And that took me way too long. Shouldn't have taken me as long as it took. But I think largely it was a reflection of not trusting myself, not believing that I could find.
For me, not trusting myself because I was breaking promises to myself nobody knew about. That's when I lack the trust to myself. When I start trusting, when I start breaking promises to myself, it's like fuck the whole thing. The trust was gained.
What was the advice to your 18-year-old self?
You know what? My advice to 18 years old Jarek is it just let everybody be. Do not try to impress anybody. Do not try to prove anything. Just take care of you, and the rest will come. But and I still the same thing. And I know and I like people hear me a lot. So I tell people be selfish, even though selfish is negative. But what happened is sometimes you have to be selfish because you gotta set boundaries and you gotta take care of yourself, and you gotta love yourself. That I never took care of me. I took everybody else around me. I never took care of me. And you give me permission to love myself and take care of myself.
And what's different in your life because of that now?
The voices. I see beauty in a lot of things that I never seen before. I think I'm an amazing human being and I'm worthy of everything that is out there. And I think that God is completely just protect me, and I got my faith back, and I feel at peace.
Beautiful.
One thing before we finish this, Craig. What you grateful for?
What am I grateful for? In this moment, our connection.
Okay.
I mean, it's a real experience I'm having right now of my heart can relax around you. I feel seen by you. I feel cared for by you. I feel valued by you. I feel invited by you. I think that's a rare experience. And I have a lot of wonderful connection in my life, but I don't get to feel this connected to anybody on a daily basis. I have clients and we spend an hour and a half together and it's good.
Yeah.
We drop in, but to be in person, to really be here, to be focused on something, there's something larger. We're not just hanging out talking.
No.
There's a mission here. There's a larger purpose.
No.
And to be a part of that, I'm grateful. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. But I want to go back to the connection. The reason, because you're so connected with yourself, it's a lot easier for you to connect with other people. And what happened is your frequency, you just kind of spread there. So it's also like it's the frequency that is like the connection is a lot easier. It's you know what I mean? Because what happened is you open. You know what I mean? So like everybody want to just come and hug, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's like how many men out there, if you find also right tribe, and if they like a grown as man tells you fucking I love you, dude, you in the right tribe. You know, there's nothing weird for men tell you I love you. You know what I mean? There's like, because the connection is there and there's everything is there. So that's the biggest, like for me, it's funny that for me the biggest gratitude right now is also the connection with, but you know, with the connection that I have, and it's not only with me, but with people and with the nature, and I see shit that I've never seen before, and you gave me the permission to do that. So, Craig, when people, where can everybody find you? Like, what is the best way to find you and you know, listen to you and, you know, get your work, and where people can find you?
You can.
He's hiding. He's hiding, guys. He's hiding. We put a link. Fuck it. We put a link, and we'll find him.
Go to YouTube. I think YouTube is probably the best place to get my message. I've been working really hard on putting out videos. It's a flow state for me. I really enjoy it. You can go to purposemapping.com. You can find me on the socials, but I think YouTube is probably the best place.
Okay, love. So we're gonna connect the YouTube. We're gonna connect everything, and we just, you know, show Craig. So, Craig, thank you, brother. Thank you very much.
Brother. Love you, man.
Thank you for listening. Leave your comments and subscribe for more insights on mastering the inner and outer wealth.